Hello and welcome to the September 28th meeting of the Public Works Committee of the Albany County Legislature. My name is Nathan Bruce and I serve as chair of the committee. Would Deputy Majority Counsel please call the roll?
Good thing, Mr. Chair. Mr. Brewski.
Here.
Mr. O'Brien.
Here, present.
Mr. Bergdorf.
Here.
Mr. Cleary.
Here.
Mr. Fine.
Here.
Mr. Purley.
Here.
Mr. Peter.
Here.
Mr. Reinhardt.
Here.
And Mr. Smith.
Here.
All present.
Thank you very much. Our first order of business is approving the previous meeting's minutes. I have a motion on that one. Motion by Mr. Cleary, second by Mr. Reinhardt. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Hearing none, that carries unanimously. Is Mr. Rogers is on the call. Can I get a motion to take item number 5 out of order?
So moved.
Second.
And I am here. Thank you, Chairman.
Sorry.
Hello?
I can hear you, Luke.
Can you hear me? I just lost the chairman's feed for a minute.
Sorry, I'm here. I got some technical stuff on my end. Do we have a motion to take the item 5 out of order? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. All right, Mr. Rogers, would you please brief us up on item number 5, which is amending resolution number 11 for 2021 regarding the purchase of county-owned streetlights and amending the 2021 Department of Public Works budget.
Sure. Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee, and thanks for accommodating the schedule as well. This is a $10,000 budget amendment. About 6 months ago, the committee and the legislature approved an appropriations and a budget amendment at $150,000 for the purchase of our streetlights for conversion to LEDs. In the intervening time between that and the Public Service Commission approval, which happened about a week and a half ago, the price went up a couple $1,000s. That's pretty common as they finalize the inventory of the assets and look at any work that they've done over the last year on it. That was all built into the contingency, but it is slightly higher at $151,000 than what was appropriated. So this is a request to bump it up to 160, and what that does is builds in a little bit of cushion into the budget until we close on the purchase in the next month. So happy to answer any questions, but that's pretty good overview of what we're asking for here.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Mr. Bergdorf.
Yes, Luke. So really, it's a $10,000 increase, of which you really only got to commit at this point in time, you believe $1,695. So obviously that doesn't change the payback period or any of the efficiency ratios in any substantial regard, correct?
That's exactly right. It's just a matter of building in a slight cushion so that we don't, in some worst case scenario, if there's another increase, have to come back into this cycle of going back to the legislature for approval. So you're exactly right. We expect the price to stay at, approximately $152,000, and it doesn't impact the payback period for the project.
Did you have a contingency built into the original 150?
There was a contingency in the project budget. Yes. The estimate at the time was about $145,000, and that's what went up to $152,000.
So actually, it's only like a $6,000 increase.
That's exactly right.
Thank you very much for your clarifications.
Yep. Thank you.
Mr. Grimm.
Yeah, if all the committee members are done. Yeah, I have a couple of questions, Luke. It says the county's 105 streetlights. Is that the total number of streetlights we have for the county? That doesn't seem like a lot.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Grimm, I lost audio just for 1 second there.
Yeah, on the 105, in the text, it's 105 streetlights. Is that the total number of streetlights for the whole county?
Yeah, believe it or not, at the local municipal level. So the city of Albany has upwards of 10,000, Colony 6,000. We sort of have a patchwork of certain areas that are on county property, certain county roads like Fuller Road. So yeah, it's much smaller compared to some of our municipal partners.
And our goal is to convert them all to LED. Is that it, Luke?
That's correct.
Where are we in that process?
Well, we acquire them first,
Okay,
and as soon as that's completed, we have a construction contract through the Power Authority with Wendell Engineering. They'll begin that work. As you noted, it's not a huge amount of lights. It's about a week worth of work once they can actually get to it. And so that will go quite quickly, and we should be wrapped up by the end of the year. And then it's a finance agreement set up over a long period of time so that the savings from the energy efficiency from the lights will offset the repayment of the project.
all right, so we're going to go to more environmentally sound lights. It'll
Yep.
be done by the end of the year, and over time, we'll recoup the cost with the savings.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Thanks very much, Mr. Chairman.
Me too as well. Mr. Reinhardt.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify something that Mark just said. Luke, aren't we actually going to be cash flow positive from day one?
Yeah, the idea is the savings will outweigh the costs repayment from year one. That's exactly right.
So all I'm saying really that, Mark, it's not like a simple payback where you get your money back in 2 years or whatever. You're actually saving right away because the energy savings exceeds the financing costs.
Yeah, so, yeah, because the lights are different, you save more money, and over
Right.
time, you recoup it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Thanks.
All right. Do we have a motion on item number 5?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Peters, second by Mr. Reinhardt. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Hearing none, that carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Now going back to item number 2, authorizing agreement with Lamont Engineers for engineering, architectural design, construction administration, and construction inspection services, the new highway garage facilities in the towns of Knox and Clemens. Is this Commissioner Raimundo's item?
Yes, it's Commissioner Raimondo. Have a
Welcome.
good evening, Mr. Chair, and everyone else. Hi. Yes, I'm requesting approval to enter into agreement for design, construction administration, and construction inspection of new highway facilities in our Knox and Clemens subdivisions. We received 13 proposals for this project. All were very well qualified, but we had to shortlist it because there were so many. We looked at the 4 lowest priced proposals, and again, all 4 were extremely qualified. We went with Lamont Engineering based on their ability to deliver the project at the lowest cost. I would like for you guys to know that energy efficiency and energy conservation are of utmost importance. This is an exciting project. It's the first new county facility to be built for DPW in like 40 years. So Lamont is committed to investigating all kinds of green energy grants, and they're looking into the use of solar panels, geothermal energy. We're not only replacing our highway garages at the facilities, we're also replacing our fueling stations and putting in
Somehow got knocked. Yeah, thank you.
new office space, new bathrooms, and state-of-the-art equipment.
Excellent, Commissioner. I have a question. So I think in the past we've seen, a typical bid will only get like maybe 4 or 5 respondents. This one had 13. What do you think was the reason why we had so many responsive bidders here?
I just think that people were hungry. This was just past the COVID timeframe where there was kind of like a lull in projects going out, and as we were putting out the RFP, we were getting the vibe that there were going to be a lot of bidders. When we had we put the RFP out, and 15 consultants showed up at the bid or at the project walkthrough. So we feel fortunate that we had such a great response. We also learned from reading through all of the proposals. It made us think, oh, well, perhaps if we forgot something, we should add a contingency to this project. We added the contingency in case there were costs incurred from applying for grants, which, right now we don't know what those costs could be, but we wanted to make sure we didn't have to come back to the ledge. So we put in a contingency for such things so that we could take advantage of green energy grants.
Outstanding. Mr. Bergdorf, followed by Mr. Reinhardt.
Lisa, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Could you tell us a little bit about the scope and the overall budget for these projects? Because what we're seeing here is the sort of the first bite of the apple, and what the timeframes would be. And I assume this is all, you say you're looking for grants, so we don't know if it's ultimately going to be 100% county cost. But at this point in time, you obviously have to have it budgeted that way. What would be the time frame for these projects, and can you tell us a little bit about each one of them?
Sure. Well, for the projects, Knox and Clemens subdivisions, we're going to be designing them concurrently, and it would be our schedule would be to have the design complete by February, with the hopes of being able to let the projects in early spring. That said, we're seeing what's happening with the availability of product and such. Assuming the products are available to be able to actually begin construction, the estimated construction timeline would be begin in, say, spring of 2022 and finish up potentially in April or May of 2023. And it shouldn't take that long to physically construct things. That time frame is based on delivery dates of materials and our best guess as far as availability goes. We feel like there's going to be times where we're going to be able to start construction, get certain pieces done, and then be waiting on certain deliveries of product. So at best, we're hoping spring of 2023 that they could be completed. The current facilities are, they're undersized and they're beyond their useful life. They really do hemorrhage heat. It's cost prohibitive to replace everything that needs to be replaced. We wouldn't be able to bring those structures up to code. And even if we did, they would still be undersized. So it was our decision to move forward with replacing them. So we're looking at potentially 2 buildings that are designed similarly. So we're getting a savings in the actual design costs. We're looking at 2 buildings with 8 bays, 4 garages that are double deep, so 4 garage doors that are double deep. So we'd be able to house, trucks would be able to pull in and go fully back and then exit without backing up. So we could theoretically store 8 large plow trucks in both buildings. We're looking at office space, 2 bathrooms, we're at like 1 with a shower, storage space, cold storage space as well, new fueling stations, and state-of-the-art equipment, heated concrete slabs so that when the cold trucks come in, the snow will be able to melt off them. We'll be able to have a wash bay so we can wash the trucks. They're not being designed for like maintenance per se. Like we're not going to be doing, truck repairs in these garages. All of our repairs happen at our main facility. So it'll predominantly be for housing our vehicles, light, maintenance such as washing them. We can paint in there and office space.
What is the total budget for the 2 buildings plus this
In our capital,
4,000.
yeah, we have $5 million in the 2022 capital plan allocated toward this. Based on some feedback from some of the design engineers that went to the project walkthrough, they thought that was kind of light. We did our research based on some 2019 data of similar structures that went up, and it seemed as though $5 million would have been, right where we're at. It was before all of this escalation in pricing with the inflation, and a little bit before the delivery issues. So one of the, we really want to focus on taking advantage of any NYSERDA grants that might be out there, and hopeful that, we could secure some grants in time to have them apply for our construction.
Okay, so the 5 million, does that include this 400,000?
No,
Oh,
this 400,000 is for design.
Design and
Design, construction, inspection, and
inspection.
construction
Okay, for both facilities.
for both facilities.
And then basically $500,000 for the two facilities.
Correct. It's
Thank you
about
very much. I appreciate your clarifications.
okay.
Mr. Reinhardt.
Yes, first of all, Lisa, I want to say you had me ask you questions long enough to know that I'm delighted to hear you're looking at geothermal and solar and all of these other innovative heating and cooling technologies.
Mhm.
I also hope that when you're, since you mentioned the fueling stations, that you consider the possibility of electric vehicles. Given the span of these buildings, we're probably going to be converting to electricity during their lifetime.
Yep.
The last thing I want to say is just when you are evaluating these green options, the renewable energy, the solar, the energy efficiency options, geothermal, I hope you're using life cycle costing analysis so that you're not just looking at first cost, because sometimes these things will cost more, but then they save a lot of money, kind of like we just went over with the LED lighting, where it's a positive benefit in terms of operating costs.
Yes.
And that can be where the true savings come. So
Yes.
Anyway, I just wanted to say I loved your opening comments. I
Oh,
want to hear that every time.
Oh, excellent. I just want you to know that the RFP specifically asked for a life cycle cost for geothermal and for solar panels. So that is part of our RFP. They're going to deliver that to us. Also, it is part of the design, as part of the design specifications in the RFP, to include electric charging station at each of the locations, minimally for a pickup truck. We won't be to the point where we'll be charging, heavy vehicles by the time construction, is complete.
That's a little further out.
Yes, but we do have that as part of our design specifications.
Yes. Hopefully this will become a trend for all new buildings the county builds. We're going to start going green.
I'm sure the county executive will be doing that. Yes.
If not, I'll call him.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Purley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Commissioner. Just one comment. I would urge you to, if you haven't done so, urge you to consider some amount of planning or budget for sort of the streetscape aesthetics of the structure. It's not something you ordinarily think of with a DPW facility.
Yep.
But at least I'm familiar with the Knox location, not so familiar with the one down in Clemens, but it
Yes.
occupies a fairly prominent place on the streetscape in the town of Knox. So I think it would be a great opportunity to sort of, make sure that there's some landscaping and some pleasing aesthetics for the surrounding neighbors.
Yep, that's a point well taken. That is also part of what we're requiring. We want the buildings to, although they'll be industrial in nature or, minimalist, we want them to take into account what's around them and add some cupolas or, interesting architecture upon entry. So that's definitely, we don't want it to be completely utilitarian.
Great, thank you.
All right, do we have a motion on item number 2? Motion by Mr. Reinhardt, second by Mr. Cleary.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. All right, that carries. Moving on to item number 3, authorizing an agreement with Cone Inc. regarding the modernization of 6 passenger elevators at the Harold L. Joyce, Albany County Office Building. It is Mr. Latina.
Good evening, Chairman. How are you this evening?
Doing all right.
The 6 elevators at the county office building were renovated back in the early 2000s, I believe. When they were done, there wasn't a complete really modernization of the elevators. We're running into a lot of problems. They're past their useful life, very difficult to get parts from. We had Kone come in under the U.S. Communities contract and do a pricing on replacement and modernization of the elevators, of all the gear. That includes all the motors and all the motors, the lift motors, cables, everything on the elevators for service. This should be an energy saving project. Would also allow us to have a little bit more security in the building itself by putting ID swipers in the elevators for more security.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner. Any questions from the members?
Yes, over here.
Mr. Bergdorf.
Dave, did I misread in the backup that it was how long was each elevator going to take to be renovated?
They're proposing a 23-week per elevator plan. So what that 23 weeks includes is, say, the first elevator. That includes your order time for the elevator and your replacement of the elevator. The time frame should actually go down as they're working along, because once they're working on one elevator, they'll have the order in for the next elevator they're going to do, which will decrease the time frame. We just put the 23 weeks in there to just give us enough time, because we can't. They wanted to do 2 elevators at a shot, which is kind of hard to do because we only have 2 actually elevators that go to the basement. So if you, the one on each bank, I don't know everybody's familiar with the lobby area. You have 2 banks, 3 on each side. So if you try and take 2 down at the same time, you're losing one of the elevators to the basement for handicap. If it happens when the other elevator goes out, then you're in big trouble. You have no handicap access to the building. So that's through the basement and for deliveries.
So, I mean, when I first read this, it looked like it was going to take 3 years to complete.
Yeah.
What are you anticipating total time frame to be?
I'm anticipating probably 18 months to 2 years. Anticipating. It's a difficult operation. I mean, they're changing out all the motors. If I don't know if nobody's ever been up into the elevator room, the motors they have to pull out of there, they look like small turbines that they're pulling out of there, which they'll be taking those out of there and completely smaller motors, complete modernization. Like I said, we have some allowance to redo the cabs, inside the cabs, but you know, we can only move as fast as they can get the elevators, you know, built. This is what we.
Okay. Do you know? 2 years is an eternity in construction.
Right.
Well, is there? I mean, this is really a question more for council and for the county attorney. But are we protected from any cost escalations, because construction materials availability, back orders, price increases are almost on a day-by-day basis?
Yeah.
So are we?
I believe
comfortable?
under the U.S. Communities, I think they're pretty much locked in on their price. I mean, we went back and forth on the price. The original price we started with was, if you really wanted to figure out, was like 2.85, I think was the original pricing that we had. They gave us, you know, after discussions, we got it down to 2.69. And then we put in a 5% contingency for any unknown shaft work or electrical work that had to be done. We don't believe, and with speaking with Coney, that we'll be dipping into that contingency. But like I said, I believe being in the U.S. communities, I think we're pretty much locked in on that price in the contract.
So basically 2 years and this number is what we're looking at.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for clarifying that.
Any motion?
Chairman?
Mr. Grimm will entertain Mr. Grimm
Thanks.
first.
Yeah, I got a question, Dave.
Yes,
There's nothing more annoying than a slow elevator. And
right.
It really, customer service wise, is terrible. Ours are pretty fast. But is that part of your discussion when you have, discussions with elevator people? What your expectation is and just how fast the things move up and down?
Well, I think that's done by their design. I mean, once they get their design done, I mean, there's probably, when you're modernizing it, I mean, they're going to move pretty quick. They're going to be much smoother on their actions. But I mean, you don't want them, it's rocket speed going up, but I'm sure they, if they want them a little faster, I'm sure the governor or how they can do it with the new controllers and stuff like that. This is going to be all new controllers. Everything is going to be state of the art on these when they do it. The last time they were done, it was like a half a modernization where they didn't change a lot of the stuff that was done, that should have been done.
You don't expect it to be any slower?
No, I don't expect it to be any slower.
Okay, because it's for people working the building every day, elevator speed's an issue.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Me, Mr. Grimm. We had a motion. Do I have a second on that motion by Mr. Cleary and Mr. Reinhardt? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. All right, thank you. That carries. Going to our last item of the evening, which is number 4, authorizing an agreement with Davies Office Inc. regarding the Shaker Place 5th floor renovation.
Yes, as everybody knows, the tower at the elevator is now empty because of the new renovation that was done at the nursing home. We were trying to repurpose some of the floors up there. We started with the 5th floor. We're doing a lot of in-house work to make the rooms into this office space. So this is, after we're done, we need to have furniture up there to plan on shifting some county employees up there to clear other space and restacking of the county employees. Maybe adding people up there that can serve also the nursing home at the time that they move up there.
All right, Mr. Reinhardt.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, back in my NYSERDA days, I visited David's, the company. And what they do with the remanufacturing of the furniture is really a good thing, because of what it does is it reduces how much old furniture ends up in the landfill. And when I was there, they were a very impressive operation. I assume they still are. I think we ought to try to do this whenever we refurbish office space for the county, to use the remanufactured furniture. It always has a great impact on reducing solid waste that ends up in the landfill. And obviously their pricing is reasonable as well.
Yes,
So I
they've
think
always
it's great.
priced everything good for us.
What's that?
I've always had a good relationship with Davies Office Furniture whenever we try and do anything.
Yeah, no, I think we should use them a lot.
Mr. Bergdorf.
Dave.
Yes.
Can you give us a sense? Obviously, you're going through the tower now. The nursing home is complete and operational. What do you anticipate county offices would be in the tower?
Well, that's a decision that's over me. I mean, that would be made through the different commissioners and the restacking. We hold restacking meetings quite often to see how we can make the efficiency of the county work better by moving office spaces around. This is a good opportunity having the tower, because we're actually out of space for for other offices, especially downtown. We don't have any more office space. So this is more going to be on what can serve the community and the nursing home better, or can we make the offices that we have downtown work better by shifting some back end workers up there over that way and bringing that other employees down here. So it's going to be an ever moving development of restaffing.
Okay, but I guess when you're at this point where you're actually doing a floor design, okay, and
Yes.
buying furniture, you must have some sense of the physical needs of the department that or the types of employees that you're going to put in there. Now,
Well,
I'm not asking you to reveal the secret of the crown jewels, but obviously, you know, there's some tentative plan that goes with whatever this floor design is.
Yeah, there's only so much you can do with the floor. I mean, it's not like we're going to go in and we're going to gut the whole floor completely. Like I said, we're trying to do a lot of the work in-house, you know, but what we're trying to do is just take the rooms and make them two-person office space. We have a couple of single offices. So what this is really just systems furniture that are going into the old rooms to make them a two-person office. There's going to be some swing space also for plug-in, you know, for laptops. We're going to, you know, laptop workstations where people can come in if they're working off-site, maybe come in there and just plug in and download their data, especially, you know, if they're always working off-site. They may be home visits for CYF, or could be health department. It could be, you know, that are always out on the thing, or just a place for them to come in and, you know, plug in and download their data that they have to do, or the reports. So that's what we're talking about as far as, you know.
Is this going to be wired into the county network?
Yes. Yep.
So each workstation will be able, someone will be able to come in with a computer and plug in.
Correct. That is correct.
Okay. Thank you for as much as you have been able to reveal.
All right, any other questions to members? Do we have a motion? Mr. Cleary and seconded by Mr. Reinhardt. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye brings us to the end of our meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn? By Mr. Cleary, seconded by Mr. Reinhardt. All those in favor